There is a weight to depression that defies simple description. It is more than sadness. It is the absence of color, the muffling of sound, a heavy sodden blanket of psychic static that smothers every flicker of joy. It is the silent scream in a crowded room, the exhaustion that sleep cannot cure. It's the cruel paradox of wanting desperately to change while feeling utterly powerless to do so. In this gray expanse, hope feels like a foreign language, and the idea of a meaningful life seems a cruel joke whispered from a distant sunlit world you can no longer access. Into this silence, a 2,000-year-old philosophy speaks, not with the hollow reassurances of toxic positivity, but with the calloused, steady voice of a warrior who has seen the worst of the world and refused to break. This is the voice of Stoicism. Before we proceed, we must tear down the caricature. Modern culture has twisted the Stoic into a statue, cold, unfeeling, a robot suppressing all emotion to achieve a state of detached indifference. This is a profound and damaging misunderstanding. The Stoic is not emotionless. The Stoic is a master of emotions. The goal was never to stop feeling pain, grief, or fear. The goal was to feel it all, to let the storm of life crash against you, and to not be swept away. It is not about building a dam to stop the river of feeling, but about learning to navigate its treacherous currents with skill, courage, and purpose. It is the art of forging an unshakable inner peace amidst the chaos, not in its absence. And there is no greater guide to this art than the man who lived it at the highest possible stakes, Marcus Aurelius. Imagine not just having a bad day, but ruling the known world during one of its most turbulent periods. Marcus was not a philosopher lounging in a comfortable study. He was an emperor on the front lines. For nearly 2 decades, his reign was a relentless barrage of catastrophes. He spent years shivering in a tent on the cold banks of the Danube, fighting brutal wars against Germanic tribes. Back in Rome, the Antonine Plague, a devastating pandemic, wiped out millions, a quarter of his empire. He was betrayed by his closest general, who declared himself emperor and plunged the state into civil war. And the public chaos was mirrored by private heartbreak. He and his wife, Faustina, had at least 13 children. He buried at least 8 of them, including his only son and chosen heir, Commodus, who would grow to be a tyrant. Imagine the gut-wrenching grief of a father burying child after child, only to then be forced to sit on the throne and project an aura of absolute stability for an entire empire. Where does a man find the strength to even get out of bed, let alone lead armies and govern millions under such a crushing weight? He finds it not by pretending the pain isn't there, but by fundamentally reorienting his relationship to it. This is the heart of the Stoic cure for the despair that fuels depression. The first step is a radical shift in focus. The depressed mind is often turned inward, trapped in a recursive loop of self-pity and helplessness. The defining question is a passive one. Why is this happening to me? It's a question that has no answer and only serves to deepen the feeling of victimhood. Marcus, through his practice, forced a pivot to an active question. Given that this is happening, what must I do now? This is not a denial of suffering, but an acceptance of reality as the starting point for action. In his private journal, Meditations, a book never meant for publication but written as a form of personal therapy, he repeatedly coaches himself. He writes, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work, as a human being. What do I have to complain of, if I'm going to do what I was born for, the things I was brought into the world to do? Or is this what I was created for, to huddle under the blankets and stay warm?" This is not the pep talk of a man who feels great. This is the self-discipline of a man who feels the immense pull of despair, the desire to hide from the world, and chooses deliberately to rise. He understood that purpose is not something you find when you feel good. It is something you create to pull you through when you feel awful. He reframed his existence not as a search for happiness, but as a commitment to his duty as an emperor, as a father, and most fundamentally, as a human being. This concept of duty extends beyond the self. Marcus wrote constantly of the common good, the idea that we are all parts of a larger whole, like bees in a hive. What is not good for the hive, he wrote, is not good for the bee. This provides a powerful antidote to the isolation of depression. When you feel lost and empty, the Stoic prescription is not to focus more on your own emptiness, but to find a way, however small, to be of service to others. When you feel invisible, make someone else feel seen. When you feel powerless, empower someone else. When your world feels meaningless, create a moment of meaning for another. This is not about grand gestures. It can be as simple as truly listening to a friend, helping a stranger, or doing your work with diligence and integrity. This act of service pulls you out of the claustrophobic prison of your own head and reminds you that you are connected to the vast tapestry of humanity. It proves through action that you still have value to give, a truth that depression works tirelessly to obscure. This leads to the Stoic understanding of perception. The soul, Marcus famously wrote, becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. He understood that we do not react to events themselves, but to our judgments about events. The world is what it is, the plague, the war, the betrayal. But the story we tell ourselves about these events is what creates our suffering. Depression is a master storyteller, painting every event with the darkest possible shades of failure, hopelessness, and doom. The Stoic practice is to become the conscious author of your own story. It is to recognize that your initial emotional reaction is just that, an initial reaction. It is not the final truth. You have a space, a sacred pause, between what happens and how you choose to respond. In that space lies your freedom. Marcus practiced what the Stoics called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. Every morning he would remind himself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. This sounds like bleak pessimism, but it is the exact opposite. It is strategic realism. He wasn't saying the world is terrible. He was saying, don't be surprised when the world acts like the world. By anticipating challenges, you rob them of their power to shock and shatter you. When someone is rude, you are not surprised into a spiral of anger or self-doubt. You think, there it is, just as I prepared for. This preparation allows you to meet hardship not with naive disappointment, but with calm understanding and a focus on your own virtuous response. You can choose kindness in the face of arrogance, honesty in the face of deceit. You can control the color you use to paint your own soul. Through this lens, the pursuit of happiness itself is revealed as a trap. Modern life sells happiness as a product to be acquired. If you just get the right job, the right partner, the right vacation, then you will be happy. This external chase is a recipe for misery because it places your well-being in the hands of things you cannot control. The Stoics, echoing Aristotle, understood that happiness, or eudaimonia, a richer concept meaning human flourishing, is not a destination to be pursued. It is a byproduct that emerges. It is the warmth that radiates from a well-lived life, a life of virtue, purpose, and resilience. You don't chase the warmth, you build the fire. You focus on your actions, on being a good person, on fulfilling your duties, on mastering your perceptions. Happiness, when it comes, is the natural consequence of a life lived with integrity. This is profoundly liberating. It takes the immense pressure off feeling happy and places the focus on what you can actually control, your next action, right here, right now. To live this philosophy, Marcus relied on a simple but powerful tool, his journal. Writing was his way of wrestling with his thoughts, of clarifying his principles, of reminding himself of the truths he was so easily forgetting in the fog of war and grief. It was how he practiced his philosophy. This is a tool available to every single one of us. When your mind is a storm of anxious, depressive thoughts, writing them down forces them into a linear, logical order. It externalizes them, allowing you to see them for what they are. Just thoughts, not immutable truths. It is a conversation with the wisest part of yourself, a way to breathe when you feel you are suffocating. Ultimately, the Stoic path is one of profound empowerment. It looks the suffering of the world squarely in the eye and declares, "You do not have the final say." It reminds us that while we cannot choose our circumstances, we always have the power to choose our response. We can choose purpose over pity. We can choose service over self-obsession. We can choose resilience over despair. This is not a cure that happens overnight. It is a practice, a daily training of the soul. But it is a path that has been walked by emperors and slaves through pandemics and prisons for millennia. They were not gods. They were human, just like you. The difference was that when they were broken, they refused to stay broken. They gathered the shattered pieces of their lives and, with the mortar of their philosophy, built an inner citadel, a fortress of the mind that no external chaos could ever truly breach. You can begin building yours right now. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be honest and willing to try. Take one small action, do the work, love your nature, rise. Because as Marcus Aurelius knew, and as his life so powerfully testifies, the world is a better place not because you are flawless, but because you are still here, still fighting, still trying to be a good human being. And that in itself is a victory of the highest order.